Hello everybody, Mike Westphal here with McDonald Garden Center, and today we're going to be doing tomato wars. Tomato wars of which tomato will reign supreme. So which variety will reign supreme. So during the Tomato Wars week here, it's in veggie land, so we like to call all of our veggies kind of veggie land because there's so many, and it just goes on and on beyond even vegetables to just edibles in general because we have such a great selection of herbs, vegetables, berries, fruit trees, you name it. If you want edible plants, we've got you covered. And it's a great time to get out in the yard and grow, whether it's spring or fall, any season. Hampton Roads is a great area to grow vegetables, and it's pretty easy too. So we're going to talk about a little bit of that before we really get started into the tomato wars part. But we've got my friend over here, Mr. T-Mato. So Mr. T-Mato has been kind of overseeing this whole tomato wars, and we are going to talk about each variety. So we've taken the top 8 varieties that we feel are the top 8. Or at least are probably the most well-known, and we've put them against each other. We've put them in a bracket form. I'll show you that here in a second, and then we're going to talk about each one as we go through it. So first, what I wanted to start with is just kind of some basics about tomatoes and care. I'll go through each variety, and I'll talk a little bit more in depth about each variety, our top 8. But before we start with that, I just want to talk about tomatoes in general. And tomatoes are one of, I think, the most popular vegetables to grow in the garden. Everybody seems to like tomatoes. They're extremely healthy, high in vitamin C, vitamin A. Some even have, high fiber content. They're like little energy packets to me. I love the fact that you can just pick them right off. Cherry tomatoes, you can just pick them off, pop them in your mouth, and I just feel like you get a little burst of energy. They're used in so many dishes, from salsas to sauces to salads, and just a hamburger slice of a tomato on a sandwich or a hamburger during the summer there's nothing better. And there's nothing better than growing your own tomatoes because they taste better than anything you'll ever buy at a supermarket. And it's rewarding as well. And it can work for people of any age. It's a great way to get kids into the garden, and even for our golden gardeners, it's a great way to get out in the yard and get some exercise. And they're just easy to grow. You can grow them in containers, you can grow them in raised beds, you can grow them in the ground. So done extensive webinars on how to grow the best tomatoes. So you can always go check out all of our past webinars on our website or subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can get even more content there. There are tons and tons of videos, and we've gone really in depth in tomatoes. But I wanted to give kind of a couple tips and tricks, and I'll do it kind of as we go through the varieties as well. But great time to plant tomatoes is typically in the month of the latter half of April. So in our Hampton Roads area, especially in the Virginia Beach area, our frost date is around April 5th. And you always want to kind of know your frost date, whether you're starting from seed or whether you're planting directly in the ground. Our frost date ranges anywhere from April 5th to April 15th. So tax day is kind of an easy day to remember. Once you get to that range of time, even early April, April 1st, you can sometimes look at your 10-day forecast and determine if you can go ahead and plant. So what we're looking for is soil temperature. We want our soil temperature to be a little bit higher. So we'd like it to be in the 55 to 60 range typically. When we go to plant our tomatoes, we want our temperatures outside to be in the 60s to 70s, hopefully, when we plant our tomatoes, because what we don't want to do is plant a tomato and then all of a sudden it just sits there and does nothing. There's nothing good for the tomato when that's happening. So we want to make sure our temperatures are correct. So right around April 5th to April 15th is a good time to start thinking about it, maybe even planting. And then, of course, May 1st is kind of my go time. I say May 1st, plant it, go for it. We're definitely in the clear by that point. Which is a great time to plant peppers, squash, zucchini, all of them, but even tomatoes too. Some people will start their tomatoes a little bit earlier because there are some varieties that will produce a little bit earlier. Maybe we'll talk about some of those. So when we plant, at the time of planting, we want to amend our soil. So if you're growing in a container, you want to use potting soil. If you're growing in a raised bed, you get to make your own mix, which is usually a mix of compost, peat moss, vermiculite, perlite, maybe even a little bit of topsoil, lots of different types of compost out there. You mix it all up, you're basically making your own potting soil, and that's what's so cool about raised beds. Raised beds are also nice because the soil temperature gets higher faster, so you can start maybe even a little bit earlier. Same within containers. Now in the ground, which is I think what a lot of people do, then you just want to amend your soil. Our soil is very clay-based in our area, so we want to make sure we're adding compost and perlite. And those are the two things that you typically are wanting to add into your soil. Mix it up, keep your soil in there. You want to keep your soil in there. And I think that will really help you go a long way. And then at the time of planting, use Biotone Starter by Espoma, one of my favorite starter plant foods. Very, very easy to use. You just mix it. It's just a granular. You throw it in the hole. You plant your tomato right around it, and it'll just make your tomato grow so much more successfully. Very, very easy to use. And then you come back again probably about 2 to 3 weeks later and use tomato tone or garden tone all the way through the season. And you want to fertilize you want to feed your tomatoes and any vegetable pretty frequently throughout the season. You're talking about every 3 to 4 weeks typically in the ground, maybe 5 to 6 weeks in the ground, but at least in a raised bed or in a container, you're definitely doing it every 3 to 4 weeks because those nutrients are going to work through the soil a little bit faster. But you definitely want to keep up with that. Watering is very, very important. We want to always water the root system, not the leaves of the plant. So we want to water the roots, not the top. So don't turn a sprinkler on and just water the entire garden. Get out there, water each plant by hand. Use a Dram watering wand. It's a great tool. It gets right to the root system. We've got all of those different types of supplies to help you watering. And make sure you water in the morning and not in the evening. Dampness and darkness cause fungus. So a very, very easy way to kind of remember that is dampness and darkness cause fungus. So you definitely want to make sure that we're watering correctly. And then Harvesting is easy, it's fun. Staking, you're gonna have to stake your tomatoes. Most of your tomato varieties are all tomatoes. Were really originally a vine, so they're gonna wanna grow pretty aggressively. So there are some bush varieties that won't require as much staking, but most of your indeterminate varieties are gonna grow pretty big. So we'll talk about indeterminate and determinate as we go through some of the varieties here in our tomato wars, but staking and supports is very, very important. Limbing up, I always like to limb up all of my tomato plants, get some of those leaves off the ground or close to the ground off. It increases airflow, decreases the chance of diseases, and keeps your fruit nice and clean throughout the season, and really, really helps, I think, make the plants look better and makes your watering a little bit easier as well. So it's a great thing. And then last and not least, one of my biggest tips is always mulch. I really, really think mulching really, really will help your vegetable garden. If you're doing it in the ground or even in a container or in a raised bed, I still mulch it. I think mulch adds a lot of natural organic matter back into the soil. It really, really keeps the moisture in and keeps your soil temperature consistent, so you don't get, when we get really hot, when we get into like the 90s, it'll keep that soil temperature cooler and more consistent, so we're not going up and down real quick with its temperature fluctuations. It also helps retain moisture and keeps weeds out. Weeds growing around your tomato plants is not going to be beneficial for them at all. So mulch is great. You can use lots of different types. All types are perfectly fine. I don't really have any major issues. I wouldn't use rock personally. I wouldn't use probably rubber, but any of your natural mulches, pine straw, hardwood mulch. You might stay away from the dyed mulches if you want to be careful, but hardwood mulch, cedar mulch, cypress, pine straw, all of those work great. So definitely I think mulching really, really helps. And then at the end of the season, you can kind of work it into the soil if it's biodegraded some, or you can plant your fall crop, and then you can work it in before the start of the spring season. So mulching is a great tip. All right, so that's kind of a quick rundown of kind of how to grow an easy tomato plant. There's lots and lots of different things you can do, but we're gonna go through some of the varieties and I'll talk about some of the differences there, and we're gonna pit them up against each other. So I'm gonna pull up the bracket right now. Here's our bracket. So this is our 8 varieties over here. You can see the whole list of 8 varieties. I'm gonna go through each one, and then we'll pit them up against each other and talk about who wins and why they won. And then we'll go on to the semifinals, and then we'll go to the final match, and we'll announce a winner here at the end of this webinar. So be lots of fun, and like I said, feel free to ask questions throughout this. It should be lots of fun. All right, so Better Boy. Better Boy is our #1 seed. Better Boy has been around for a long time. I'm sure a lot of us have probably grown a Better Boy. Better Boy is one of those quintessential kind of, if you're gonna plant 1 or 2 tomatoes, probably should plant a Better Boy. Good size fruit, 8 to 16 ounce size fruit, so almost up to a pound of fruit. So it's a very heavy producer. It's a little bit of a tougher skin, so it's gonna, it's a little bit of a stronger tomato. It's got a very, very dense foliage, which I think is probably its best attribute, is it's got a really dense foliage. And what does that mean? It means it can kind of protect the fruit from that sun scald, from that cracking. So having all that dense foliage kind of cover up that fruit really, really helps. And it's a nice bushy, very, very full plant. It does get big. Can get up to 6 to 7 feet tall, so it gets big, so be prepared to support it, have some stakes and some cages and all of that stuff, but it's a very, very heavy producer, and it was an AAS winner. So I've got one right here. I'll pull it up for you so you can see it. So this is our 4-inch tomato plants. These are great. These are all by Chef Jeff. Chef Jeff is all non-GMO, very, very good producer of vegetable plants. But you can see right here, if you ever look at your vegetable plants, well, we're on this side, there's this little logo right here and it says AAS. So this is an AAS winner. AAS means American, well, make sure I say it right, All-American selection winner. And what that means is it's gone through a lot of testing, and lots of people have grown it and been very, very successful with it. So it's got a lot of accolades, and that's why it's our #1. It's a great tomato to grow. It's going to be consistent. It's one of the easiest ones to kind of start with. So if you're a beginner, you definitely want to grow a Better Boy or two. And then for people that have been growing tomatoes for a long time, that have really kind of probably been more adventurous and tried some of these other varieties that we'll talk about, I still probably will recommend all the time, grow a Better Boy, because you're just going to be successful with it. It's pretty easy, very disease resistant. It's got all the great attributes. So Better Boy is our #1 seed, and he's at the top of the bracket. Well, let's see if he'll win. We'll find out. All right, next is Roma. So Roma and Better Boy are going to be going up against each other. Roma is a really cool tomato. So Roma is a determinant. So what's the difference between indeterminate and determinate? Well, indeterminate means that it keeps on growing and keeps on producing consistently throughout the entire growing season. They all have maturity dates. Once they get to that certain maturity date, then they'll start to produce more. But Romas are determinate. So why would you want a determinate tomato? Well, determinate, what that does is you'll have some fruit set here and there, but usually what happens is you get a majority of your fruit set over a 1, 2, maybe 3 week time frame. And why would people want that? Why would you want a ton of tomatoes all in kind of one fell swoop, one time frame of your growing season? Well, because you might grow sauces. So if you're growing for a sauce or a salsa, so if you love to produce a salsa or a sauce or tomato paste or any of those things, then you typically are going to want a lot of tomatoes at one time. And that's what's so cool about determinate varieties. They also aren't going to get quite as big, so they don't take up as much space, and you can stagger planting them. So that's a great way of kind of doing it. You can get seeds and plant seeds at different intervals. You can also get plants and plant them at different intervals. So it's a great way to kind of get those, what I kind of call like a bumper crop, or your big, determinate crop, getting them all in one, kind of time frame. And you can kind of divvy those up, so you can plant 1, 2 to 3 weeks later, and that way you can keep on getting those bigger crops of tomatoes all at one time. The nice thing about Roma is it's very disease resistant. It's a very heavy producer. It's a little bit meatier, so it's higher in fiber content, but that's kind of what you want for sauces and pastes and salsas, because if you have a very, very juicy tomato, then that's going to cook away when you're cooking up, a pasta sauce or something. But it's a very, very good tomato. It's got a great taste, and it's absolutely amazing for those sauces and those paste people that want to make that kind of stuff. So Roma, very, very popular. One of the most popular determinate varieties for sure. Pear-shaped, kind of nice, kind of oblong, kind of pear-shaped. So really, really good tomato. So Roma is our #8 seed. It's at the bottom of the bracket, but it's going up against our #1 seed, the Better Boy, and we'll get back to see who wins that one. So Beefmaster is our next one. Beefmaster is our #4 seed. Beefmaster, great tomato, extremely large fruit. So if you're ever going to grow a large tomato, there's lots of great varieties. So if you come in and you don't see Beefmaster, there's Beefy Boy, there's Big Beef. They're kind of all in this same group, and they're all fairly similar. I like Beefmaster because it's amazing disease resistant. It's got a lot of your disease resistance. Whenever you're looking at a tomato, on the back of our labels, on the back of our Chef Jeff labels, is a bunch of information. And down at the bottom, it'll tell you what its disease resistance is. So this one is resistance to V, F, N, and T, which means it's got 4 different things, 4 different diseases that it's kind of resistant to. So nematodes, it's resistant to nematodes, Bacillium and Fusarium wilt. So really, really great disease resistance to the Beefmaster. But a lot of your bigger tomatoes have a lot of good disease resistance as well. So really, really good one. Super, super large fruit. Really one of the easiest, or one of the earliest too. So that's kind of why I like this one, because a lot of the big tomatoes, you're going to wait pretty much, towards the latter part of the season before you actually get to that maturity time frame where it's actually going to start producing a lot of tomatoes. But this is one of the earliest ones. So, if you check your label, it's going to say maturity is 80 days. Some of your other larger tomatoes are up in the 90 to 110 days. So you get a tomato a little bit earlier, and that's what's really cool about Beefmaster. Really a great large producing tomato. And if you've ever wanted to grow a big tomato, Beefmaster, Big Boy, Big Beef, they're all great varieties. But number 4 on our list is Beefmaster. Number 5 is Early Girl. Early Girl, very popular variety. And why? Because it's early. Because it produces early. So it's a good sized fruit, about 4 to 6 ounces, so about half the size of like a Better Boy. But a really nice one because on here, the maturity date is 57 days. So really early producing tomatoes. So you can plant these, kind of the beginning of your season and you get some tomatoes early. It is indeterminate, so it'll keep on producing throughout the year. It's got very high disease resistance. And it is just, once it kind of starts, it never really seems to stop, and that's why everybody really loves Early Girl. It's always one of our top tier tomatoes, and it's just a great one because it produces so early. So next one is going to be Cherokee Purple. Cherokee Purple is a very old variety, so this is our heirloom bracket, our Cherokee Purple versus our Mortgage Lifter. So Cherokee Purple is a really cool one. It's one of the oldest tomatoes that we carry. It's over 100 years old. Of course, it's called Cherokee Purple because of its color and because it's been known that the Cherokee Indians, the Cherokee tribe, the Native Americans, grew this one, and so that's why it's really cool. It's got a lot of, longevity here in the States. And it's just a great tomato. That dark Cherokee or that dark purple color goes into the meat itself, especially around the stem area. So you can see that image right there where the stem, where it kind of meets the plant, the tomato. That dark purple color just works its way right into the tomato and into the meat as well. So really tasty, very complex flavor, a little bit on the meatier side, but really fun to grow, and really has this great kind of sweet finish at the end. And heirloom varieties, of course, have been passed down over multiple generations, hence the name why they've been given the heirloom name. And because of that, you get these really cool kind of older varieties that have been around a long time. And why have they been around a long time? Because they've been proven to give results, which is why they're so good. So this is a great one, Cherokee Purple. And then of course we've got Mortgage Lifter. Mortgage Lifter is a great variety as well. So this is Mortgage Lifter. You can see the fruit right there. Much meatier. This one's got a great story. I love this story. So Mortgage Lifter was bred by Radiator Charlie in the 1930s. So this guy had a radiator shop. His business wasn't, super successful at certain points. 1930s, tough time, Great Depression and all of that. And so he was behind on his mortgage. Hence the name Mortgage Lifter. And so he didn't have a whole lot of plant knowledge, but he decided to breed 4 different types or cross 4 different types of tomatoes and make this one. And he sold 1,000 of them for every year for 6 years, produced 1,000 for 6 years, so sold 6,000, ended off for $1 a piece over a 6-year period, ended off paying his mortgage off for his radiator shop with this tomato. So that's why it's such a cool story. And really cool tomato, been around since the 1930s. Very old tomato, and a really cool one. It's got a great taste, it's sweet, it's meaty, it's flavorful, and what's also kind of cool is some people hate tomato seeds. This one has very few seeds for how big of a tomato it really is. So Mortgage Lifter, great story, kind of an underdog story. We'll see if the underdog can come out because Cherokee Purple is number 3 on our list and Mortgage Lifter is seeded number 6. So we'll see how that one works out. And then our last bracket is over here, and that's going to be our Sun Gold and our Super Sweet 100. It's our cherry bracket, our cherry tomato bracket. Cherry tomatoes are awesome. I love cherry tomatoes. If you're going to grow tomatoes, if you're if you're new to growing them and you're not quite sure what you want to try, Lots and lots of selection out there. This is just our top 8. We've got probably, I think it's over 20 and maybe even 30 different varieties that we carry in plants, and then even more when you get to the seeds. So, upwards of 50 different types of tomatoes that you can grow. Great selection. So, but if you're gonna grow a couple tomatoes, Better Boy is gonna be a great kind of slicing tomato. You can get up to a hamburger slice out of it, but do grow cherry tomatoes too, especially if you got space. Now, cherry tomatoes get big. These are going to get 7 to 8, maybe 9 feet tall, so they can get really tall, so be prepared to stake them, but they will just keep on producing. And they're so easy to grow and very rewarding. They do make new varieties that will grow in containers that are a little bit bushier and don't quite require as much staking. A lot of those are determinate, which means you're going to get a big kind of crop at one portion of the year. But these are indeterminate, they keep on producing, and Sun Gold and Super Sweet 100 are by far the top, 2 of all of our cherry tomatoes. Lots and lots of options out there, but these are definitely our top 2. So Sun Gold is going to be our number 2. Sun Gold, number 2. You can see that gorgeous kind of orange-yellow color. And then our Super Sweet 100, which has been a popular variety for many years. Most people that grow cherry tomatoes always grow a Super Sweet 100, and that's going to be seeded number 7. Very good ones, and lots of fun to grow. So cherry tomatoes, we'll see who wins that bracket. All right, so we're going to get right to it. We're going to start with the first group here in our quarterfinals, and it's going to be Better Boy versus Roma. So let's pull them back out here and go through real quick which one will reign supreme. Well, Better Boy is our number 1 seed. Roma is our number 8 seed. That's a tough matchup for the Roma. Better Boy, of course, has so many great attributes. Disease resistance, produces a good size, up to a pound-sized fruit, and just one of the best out there, especially for beginners, but even for avid, vegetable gardeners. It's one that probably most people have grown or have tried or do every single year, and because of that, it's unfortunately going to defeat Roma this year. So Better Boy moves on to the next round. Tough matchup, but Better Boy is an AAS winner for a reason, number 1 seed for a reason, and if you're getting into vegetable gardening, I definitely recommend it. If not, if you've done it for years and you haven't tried a Better Boy, I definitely recommend it. I put one in my garden every single year, and so for that reason, Better Boy moves on as the number 1 seed. Now, the next group is going to be Beefmaster versus Early Girl. Beefmaster versus Early Girl. This is a tough one. This is a 4-5 matchup. Beefmaster is our number 4 seed. Early Girl is our number 5 seed. Really tough one. If you've ever grown a large tomato, you can know that sometimes they're kind of difficult. They grow bigger sized fruits. Beefmaster is by far the easiest one. It's the earliest one to produce. Because of that, it's a great one. It's got a ton of disease resistance. Really good one. But Early Girl is early and one of the best. And once it starts producing, it's true. Once it starts, which can be up to 57 days, as short as 57 days to maturity, then it doesn't stop. And because of that, we've got a little bit of an upset because Early Girl moves on. So Early Girl goes on to the semifinals, and that's a great tomato and really fun to grow because you get some production pretty quickly and you don't have to worry about waiting for a while. You're talking 80, maybe 90 to 110 days with some of the larger fruits, with some of the larger producing tomatoes like Big Beef and Beefmaster and Big Boy, and Early Girl just produces early. And so for that reason, Early Girl is going to move on to the next round. So, and then we've got our heirloom bracket. So really tough one here. Cherokee Purple versus Mortgage Lifter. Cherokee Purple, number 3 seed. Mortgage Lifter, number 6 seed. And because of that underdog story, because of Radiator Charlie and what he did to pay off his mortgage, we're going to go with Mortgage Lifter this year. He's going to beat the 3 seed Cherokee Purple, and Mortgage Lifter is going to go on. Really cool variety. I mean, I definitely recommend it. Cherokee Purple is very popular, and I'm sure if you've grown some heirloom varieties, that's probably been one that you've tried before, but I definitely recommend this one. It's a great one. It's very easy. It's very easy to grow, and it's just got that great underdog story. So because of that, we had to have some underdog winners, and Mortgage Lifter won and is going on to the semifinals. And then the next one is going to be sorry, I got my leaves sticking there on the screen. And then the next one's going to be our cherry bracket. So we've got our Sun Gold and we've got our Super Sweet 100. Really tough one. We've got 2 seeds here, top 8 out of a bunch of tomatoes. So, they've come a long way to get to this point. Sun Gold is this really cool color. It's our number 2 seed because it has outtaken the ranks of Super Sweet 100 in popularity, because once you grow Sun Gold, you'll probably never stop growing it. It is just an amazing, amazing taste. It is just one of my favorite tomatoes. And unfortunately for Super Sweet 100, Sun Gold has moved on. So Sun Gold, great variety. I strongly, strongly urge you to try this tomato because I think once you try it, you'll grow it every single year. What's really cool about this one too is you can actually harvest the tomatoes before they are fully ripe. So up to 7 days, you can pull these right off the plant and they still have an amazing, amazing taste. High in vitamin C, great, great, heavy, heavy producer. Just one of my all-time favorites. So Sun Gold is gonna move on to our semifinals. So there we go. We've updated our bracket, and now we've got Better Boy versus Early Girl, and then we've got Mortgage Lifter versus Sun Gold. So really, really cool matchup here. So we'll keep on going and see what ends up here at the end. So we've got our Better Boy versus Early Girl. So kind of two traditional tomatoes. Really, really tough one. Early Girl is a bit of an underdog at a 5 seed. Better Boy is a number 1 seed. You know, it's kind of like, you know, in the basketball tournament, it's kind of like the Duke, right? You know, Better Boy always seems to be in the finals, always seems to be a number 1 seed. And so it's just such a good variety. I mean, I've said probably everything that I can probably say about Better Boy. You know, if you're looking for, you know, different taste or different looks, then Better Boy might not be for you. If there was ever one thing that I would say, I'm not gonna say bad, it's actually very good, is it's got a tougher, thicker skin. It's designed to be a tough tomato. So I kind of think about, you know, like supermarket tomatoes are, you know, not quite as tasty. Better Boy is very tasty because it's coming from your garden, but it was bred to be, you know, strong and durable and have that dense foliage. And so because of that, some people might say it's not the most amazingly tasty tomato. But if you want tomatoes, you want reliability, you always want to be able to go out every weekend and harvest some tomatoes, Better Boy is just so much better. And Early Girl, really, really tough one here. Early Girl is a great producer, smaller fruit, half the size of a Better Boy, so you're going to use this more for like salads. You're not going to get that complete, you know, hamburger slice, but it's really, really good for sandwiches if you're fine with a smaller tomato. And it's just a great producer, and it starts early, which is just so cool about it. So unfortunately for Early Girl, Better Boy is going to move on. We've got a number 1 seed going to the finals, of course. Better Boy is just a great one, and I grow it every single year, and I recommend that you do too, especially if you want success and reliability. You got to have a Better Boy in your garden. All right, so then our Sun Gold versus Mortgage Lifter. So we've got our cherry tomato versus our heirloom variety. So in this bracket, you know, tough matchup here. You know, if you've ever had a Mortgage Lifter, it's just a really, really cool, unique taste. It's really different because there's hardly any seeds in it. It's got that amazing underdog story. It is just a really, really cool heirloom variety. There's lots and lots of different heirloom varieties out there, from like orange varieties to the Cherokee purple that Mortgage Lifter just beat out. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. Brandywine is a really, really popular one. But Mortgage Lifter been around a very, very long time and extremely reliable, very disease resistant, and matures at right about that same 80-85 day rate, and indeterminate, and keeps on producing, and just one of the best. And so because of that, it's got a tough matchup versus the Sun Gold tomato. Sun Gold tomato, as I mentioned, just a really kind of unique taste. So we've got two unique tasting tomatoes against each other. What I love about this one is it's got this really kind of tropical kind of different flavor to it. And it's just really, really sweet. And if you can let it get to full maturity, it's even better. Yeah, you might be fighting a little bit of your, you know, friendly tree neighbors with the squirrels, you know, getting into it because they're gonna love that little bite-sized fruit. But they can get into any tomato really. But Sun Gold is just amazing, and because it produces so heavily and so many tomatoes that if the squirrels get a couple, they get a couple. But you're gonna get a ton out of this. If you've got the space for a Sun Gold, then you'll never go back because it is one of the best varieties out there. So because of that, and it's a number 2 seed, and it's just a great one, and I grow it in my garden every year, and it's super, super tasty. then Sun Gold is going to move on to the finals. So now we've got our number 1 and our number 2 seed. Who could have guessed that? If you were betting on it, then you probably would have bet Better Boy and Sun Gold, and they did end up in the finals together. So we'll have to find out who is going to reign supreme as the best tomato out there for the garden. So tough matchup, right? If I only had to grow one tomato, which one would I grow? If I only could eat one tomato for the rest of my life, which one would I do? It's a tough call. And in this championship battle, doesn't mean there won't be a battle next year, so there's always going to be a different winner sometimes. This is our first annual, so really tough decision here, going on taste, going on reliability, going on production, all of those things. We're going to go ahead and announce the winner. So really tough matchup. You can't go wrong. If you could plant 2 tomatoes, these would be the 2 tomatoes I would hand you. Sun Gold and a Better Boy, because you're going to get production, a good sized tomato of your Better Boy. Sun Gold, you're going to get this really kind of fun tropical taste that you can eat early. It's going to harvest earlier. It matures at a 57-day time frame, so it matures at a very quick time frame. You get large clusters, just tons and tons of fruit on them. So if you were going to grow one, then I'm going to recommend the Sun Gold. Sun Gold wins the Tomato Wars of 2023 in Veggie Land. Mr. T-Mato here is very happy, I think, about this outcome. Sun Gold cherry tomato, one of the best. It is just an awesome variety, and I just can't tell you enough about it. It's just got this amazing taste, super delicious, high in vitamin C. Some people that might deal with acid reflux, typically will say a yellow tomato doesn't quite have as much acidity in it. So if you've ever dealt with that, you've got that in here. Heavy producer, lots and lots of little cherry tomatoes. You can harvest them early because, one, they mature at an earlier date, and you can take them off the vine before they're completely, ripe. You can see that coloration of all those different tomatoes over there, Sun Golds, and they can start off at a yellow and they mature to even a darker orange, and they get even sweeter and sweeter the longer you leave them on the vine. But even if you pick them early, they just got this really cool taste to them. It's just a great one. Throw them in salads, use them when cooking up pasta dishes. Really awesome tomato. And if you were going to grow one variety and you were going to grow it this year, I would recommend Sun Gold, because you're going to love it. It's going to be one that once you grow it, you'll probably never stop growing it. I grew my first one probably 12 years ago, and I haven't stopped. It is the one tomato, that I grow every single year, because it's just reliable. It's easy. Kids love it. Everybody loves it. It's just one of the best. And so because of that, Mr. T-Mato and I are announcing that Sun Gold Cherry Tomato is the winner for 2023. So great tomato, easy to grow, lots of fun, and this has been lots of fun. So I thank you all for joining me for our Tomato Wars for 2023. It's been a lot of fun. We've got a lot in store to do this again each year. This is going to be lots of fun. We've got so many different varieties of tomatoes, so it doesn't have to be just this one. If you've got space to grow 8, these would be our top 8. If you have space to grow 20, then grow 20 and share with your neighbors and your friends, and have a lot of fun with it. So looks like Catherine said we did Better Boy, Lemon Boy, German Johnson, and Sun Gold this year. Sounds like we will have a winning crop. It sounds like you will, Catherine. That's a great selection. You've got the top 2 right there, Better Boy and Sun Gold. You will love them. They're great producers. And then I think with German Johnson, which is, I believe, an heirloom variety, and Lemon Boy, another cherry tomato, then I think you're going to have a really cool crop of tomatoes. I'd love to know how it turns out for you. So I hope you all enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun announcing the winner. Tomato Wars 2023 is over, and the winner is Sun Gold, going on to get its trophy. So hope you all have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.